Holy shit, guys. Come right here.
We are.
I'm looking at something looking at me.
Well, there's something pretty big right behind you.
I see it again. You guys. Something's walking.
Deep in the bottomlands of Miller County, Arkansas, there's a shadow that hadn't lifted since the early 70s. What started as a series of terrifying encounters in the town of Fouke quickly exploded into a global phenomenon with the 1972 release of The Legend of Boggy Creek. It wasn't just a movie. For many, it was the moment cryptozoology stepped out of the woods and into the American living room. But as the decades passed, the legend of the Fouke Monster began to feel like a relic of a drive-in cinema, until Lyle Blackburn stepped back into the swamp. Lyle didn't just revisit the story, he revitalized the entire movement by digging through lost police records and tracking down original witnesses. He shifted the narrative from movie monster back to a legitimate, documented mystery of the South. And Lyle has a way of peeling back the layers of Hollywood sensationalism to find that raw truth underneath. Here he breaks down one of the most iconic moments from that original era, the encounter that defined a generation of researchers.
I'm like, you don't want to come down here and do Sasquatch research. We got really scary Sasquatch down here. And if you don't believe me, you can watch The Legend of Boggy Creek. All of this is really based on true sightings, things that people had reported over the years down here in this very area of Fouke. And right here is a nice aerial shot of the Sulphur River bottoms. So if you walk in parts of that, it's literally like going back in the 1970s because it's still exactly as it was. If this thing was here in the woods, whether it's a singular creature or a small population, whatever it is, whatever this mystery is about this creature that was really made the most famous by the Legend of Boggy Creek film, it would have had to been here all along, right? It wasn't just like, hey, it's the 1970s and then suddenly there's a bunch of sightings. Legend of Boggy Creek basically portrays is a time period from about 1955 up until 1971. And that's when the film was shot. And the reason that is because in 1971 is when the actual story went public. Now, even though there had been sightings down here for years, for decades, and even the movie says since the 1940s, but I trace sightings all the way back to roughly 1908. So whatever this thing was, it had been here, and some of the folks that had settled along the Sulphur River down there in areas like Jonesville, which is kind of south of Fouke, you know, they had seen strange things, but they didn't run to the newspaper, you know, especially back then. I mean, you are not going to go to the newspaper and claim you saw what looked like a giant gorilla walking upright like a man. And keep in mind that back in those days, and even when The Legend of Boggy Creek was filmed in 1971, nobody had a concept of Bigfoot. So if you saw something here in 1955, Nobody called it a Bigfoot. So that's another reason why these sightings just were known only to the locals. And so as the years progressed, there were incidents that happened, and this all kind of became public when a couple of families moved down here from Ashdown, Arkansas, and they were down here for work, and they rented this very house right here. It was two families by the name of Ford and Taylor. And over the course of several nights in late April and early May of 1971, something was happening. Something was creeping around on this veranda wraparound porch here, and they began to hear something. And then on subsequent nights, they got glimpses of something out here that looked like it was huge and hairy and walking upright. So they borrowed a shotgun, flashlights, and then this culminated in what's known as the attack on Bobby Ford. Well, Bobby Ford was the younger brother of Don Ford, one of the guys who was here, and Bobby came here because he heard the fishing was good. And so he was down on one of the creeks, and as you see in the Legend of Boggy Creek, they found some kind of creepy looking track, and they were kind of spooky in them woods. This all culminated on a Saturday evening in early May of 1971, in which they finally confronted this thing that was creeping around the porch, and they took the borrowed shotguns and the flashlight. They busted out the door and started shooting at this thing. Well, they unloaded a bunch of shells, and they're like, "We hit that thing, we're sure we hit it." So they got down off the porch with the flashlights, Don Ford, Charles Taylor, and Bobby Ford, and they went out to see if they could find the body or even some blood, because they were sure they hit it this time. Well, they were down there looking around in the dark. They don't see the body. They don't see blood. All of a sudden, back up at the house, the women started screaming. Like, "Oh my God, it's back up at the house." You know, it had evaded the gunshots and circled around. So Bobby volunteered to come back up here and check on the women while the guys stayed down by the woods. And when he got up close to these stairs, he said something came around the side of the house and attacked him. It was something dark, it was something hairy. He fought with this thing for a few moments and managed to escape and almost jumped through the front screen door of that house trying to get inside. When that happened, whatever it was ran off back into the woods. They didn't see it, and they ended up having to take Bobby down to St. Michael's Hospital up here in Texarkana. Roll in there. He was totally freaked out, in shock. He's all scratched up, beat up. And of course, they're like, "Well, what happened?" He was attacked by a big hairy monster down in Fouke. Well, when you roll into the hospital and you say something like that, you know that story is going to go viral, right? Well, there's no such thing as viral back then as far as stories, but it was real news, and that was printed in the Texarkana Gazette, and there's the actual news article. And that was May 3rd, 1971. So that was the first time that this became public. And that really just set off everything, and literally why we're standing here today is because of that. And so the journalists ended up naming it the Fouke Monster, you know, because again, nobody thought of Bigfoot. There's no mention of Bigfoot in these articles. It was just something that was scary, and it had scared these people who incidentally moved out the next day. And this started bringing forth other people who had had similar sightings. And a couple of weeks later, a couple who lived in Texarkana with a friend of theirs was driving north right down here on Highway 71. If you go about 2 miles south of the Monster Mart, where the bridge goes over Boggy Creek, where Mayor Fouke said, "Please don't steal the signs." I hope you haven't yet, but anyway. As they were coming across there, something ran across the road that looked to them to be, they called it monkey-like, which is a misnomer, really ape-like, but that got in the newspaper, and that's when they first called it the Fouke Monster. That there were sightings subsequent sightings, and there was also a history of sightings that had gone on for decades to indicate that this wasn't the first time. This wasn't just something like a hoax or whatever. Something was going on here and had been going on for quite some time. I think that's one thing that made that movie effective and why it was so scary, because they did not make this up. And oftentimes the people who reenacted the reenactments were some of the people who had literally been involved in the encounters. This was real stuff shot on real locations with real people. And Herb Jones is a fascinating story. I mean, unto itself, a guy who lived down there in the bayou. I mean, that was not made up. That guy literally lived down there by himself. And it gets pretty spooky out there at night. At the time, I'd never heard of Bigfoot sightings in Texas. And I'd been camping in Arkansas, but I didn't know anything until I went to the drive-in theater, and apparently there are Bigfoot here, and they're very scary. Not to say that Fouke is creepy, but it literally says in the movie, wait till the sun goes down, right?
In the bottom where the cypress weep, there's a secret in the mud that the boggy keeps. No footsteps heard, just a chill in the air. The phantom of the swamp is waiting there. Oh, Fouke Monster, hiding in the grave, watching every move, taking light away. Resonator screaming like a ghost in the pine. Don't cross the water, don't cross the line.
Now that we made it down into the thick of it, where the trees crowd the water and the shadow starts playing tricks on you, it's worth talking about the man who helped pave the way for independent researchers to stand in these very woods, Craig Woolheater. See, Craig's been the quiet backbone of this whole modern movement for decades. After a personal sighting back in '94, he realized folks needed a way to stay connected. So he co-founded the Texas Bigfoot Research Center and started Crypto Mundo to help keep everyone up to date on breaking news. He even made his hometown of Jefferson officially named the Bigfoot capital of Texas. Now, Craig doesn't take the stage to lecture, and he don't hunt for a handout. He's a promoter, plain and simple. The anchor behind the Texas Bigfoot Conference and this very Fouke Monster Festival. He works behind the scenes to keep the fire lit, so independent heavy hitters have a place to bring their grit, the miles, and the stories all under one roof. Next up on our festival roster is a veteran investigator who brings a truly unique perspective to these woods, Marvin Leeper. As a former professor of English and folklore and a former member of the NAWAC, Marvin balances sharp academic insight with decades of rugged, boots-on-the-ground field research. His deep understanding of regional lore has made him a highly trusted voice in the community, even penning the forewords to a couple of books on Southern cryptid history. He spent a lifetime mapping out the raw eyewitness reports and oral traditions, stretching deep across the Boggy Creek bottomlands in both Oklahoma and Arkansas. For Marvin, these stories aren't just folklore, they're pieces of an unsolved puzzle hiding right in our own backyard. Now let's see what happens when a scholar trades classroom for deep, dark woods.
All right, up next we have our second speaker of the day. We have Marvin Leeper. Give a big hand for Marvin. He's a professor of folklore. He's been studying Bigfoot or Sasquatch, going out, doing investigations in research areas, not only in Oklahoma, but Texas, a number of other interesting areas as well. You can definitely check him out on different media that he's been involved with. He's going to talk about some of the expeditions and things he's done. So here for Marvin Leeper.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, it is always good to be here in Fouke. I started doing these conferences here when it was over in the fairground buildings. It was 110 degrees in the sheet metal. and we sweated and had more fun than humanly possible and maybe even legal. This is an episode of Small Town Monsters that came out 3 or 4 weeks ago called Into the Valley of the Apes. You can see myself, my friend Jerry. Jerry, would you like to stand up just a second? This is author Jerry Hesstand. He is back here at my table. You can get his book, Hunting Apes in America, My Life as a Bigfoot Hunter. But we had many encounters, and on this show, Into the Valley of the Apes, you will hear of many of those encounters. And here's Jerry's book, and he speaks about the area in his book. Take a good look at it. There are copies for sale, I'm told. And we have a boggy creek in my part of Oklahoma, and it's called the Clear Boggy. And on Clear Boggy was first named the Bazures by the French fur trappers hundreds of years ago. So there's a hundreds of years ago history in a state that people previously think, well, nobody lived there for years. Well, yeah, people have lived there for over a millennia. The history of Sasquatch or Sasquatch-like creatures goes back a few years further. Anybody hazard a guess? That's not a bad guess. Try 900 AD. The Caddoan nation told stories of a giant hairy cannibal that preyed upon pregnant women. So we've had stories about Bigfoot-like creatures in Oklahoma for over a millennia. So Dr. Jeff Meldrum, bless his heart, excellent individual, posited that prior to 1958 in the Gerald Crew sightings, nobody had ever heard of Bigfoot. Bigfoot's a national phenomenon, but it only really occurs in the Pacific Northwest. Now let's talk about research. Are we tailgate researchers? Do we go out on Saturday night with nothing better to do and walk through old cemeteries and sit on the tailgate? Yeah, we do that. Have Jerry and Jody and I gone into the wilderness for a week or 10 days at a time? John Harrell? Yeah, we've done that too. Have we spent many hours on the computer doing that types of research? Yes, we have. Real Bigfoot research is all of those things. Everything is a piece of the puzzle that we have yet to solve and may never. So let's look at some research. And I don't have the slide of this, but have you any heard of the 1855 Human Bigfoot War? It's all over the internet. I see some heads nodding on that one. Yeah. Did that happen? No, it didn't. How do I know that? Have you ever heard of David Weatherly, the author? Okay, I'm glad somebody has. David did it so simply. He debunked it. The particular rifle in that story did not exist in 1855. Case closed. I didn't know that. It never dawned on me to do that, so what did I do? I contacted the Choctaw Nation, spent about 3 weeks going through the census, and found that every person in that story was a real person. Unfortunately, none of them lived in 1855. That is what I call and called in class. I'm retired now. In class, I call that fake lore. Not folklore, but fake lore. Okay? Let's talk about something current. Have you heard of the McAllister or Blanco, Oklahoma dogman attack of about a month ago? Aha, yes indeedy. Okay. Do you have a question?
She got her face chewed off.
Yes, she got her face chewed off. Oh, it is serious. She's still in bad shape. All right, in that part of the country we have panthers. We call them panthers. They call them mountain lions up north and in the mountains, but in my neck of the woods, they're panthers. We have panthers. We have black bear, Ursus americana, and we have pit bulls. On the internet, you didn't have a lot of context, did you? I mean, that's what we all heard in the beginning. Without that context, it's hard to put it in the proper perspective. But I did my research, and this is where computer research comes in. What animals indigenous to that part of Oklahoma, including domestic animals, attack a face? And it kept coming back. Domestic dog, domestic dog. Well, her arms and legs were likewise mauled. When you get attacked by a domestic dog, you fight it off, right? You kick it. Her injuries were predominantly to her forearms and down, her knees and down, and her face. Okay, what's the telltale sign of this whole story? This gentleman just mentioned it, DNA. This is how the story played out. The woman went to this house. She got out of the car. She was immediately knocked to the ground and attacked. She heard a man's voice. She was attacked by a dog-like creature. End of story. That's all we got on the internet. Dogman attack in McAllister. Dogman attack in McAllister. The human Bigfoot War of 1855. The DNA is back. It was a domestic dog. The gentleman at the house she had gone to had 3 dogs. They have 2 of them in custody now to see which dog attacked her. The voice, she heard the human voice. The police now theorize was him trying to call the dog off of her. Okay? Now, is that fake lore? It got a lot of attention, didn't it? Is that fake lore? I mean, is that story fake? Apparently so, but was it intended to be fake? There is a new academic term for this type of folklore, because that is folklore. That will go down as a legitimate, documented story passed around. It's called digital folklore, and that's what we're in today. The internet can be the greatest research tool that we've ever had, or it can be the greatest harm we've ever had. It's all in how you use it. It's all the context that you search for, because you don't get the whole story on the internet. Like this gentleman pointed out, he wanted to know more. And many times when we're looking for meaning or context in these stories, we can go back to the hundreds of years old ancient models to look for ways to decipher the truth today. And so I have embraced digital folklore. To me, it's a boon. I don't have to go out and walk through the woods in the middle of the night and have mean things growl at me in scary graveyards. Esaias Gibson, a young Choctaw boy and a friend of his, whom I think he sought to impress, if you know what I mean. And rap was in its infancy then. They're sitting here. He said, the first time we sat there on the low water crossing, as it's called, and it's broken down and underwater now. He said, the first time we sat there, he said, we played some country. I said, what happened? Nothing. He said, but the second time we went there, and I thought, ooh, they played rap. And I think if there is a connection, if music doth have charms that soothe the savage breast, think about drums and think about the bass beat and the thumpers. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? My friends say that the tribal method works. Esaias said, we had the thumper turned way up and it throwed rocks at us and screamed. He said, why was that? And I said, it hates rap. We were at this bridge, Michael Cottrell, John Harrell, and I. Rocks come up out of the creek bottom and hit. I grabbed that FLIR, handed it to Cottrell. John grabs the shotgun. We go down in the creek, shine, and here's these enormous red eyes just across the creek from us, always just out of sight of our lights, just beyond the range of our lights. Here are these 2 enormous glowing red eyes. Now, are these bioluminescent eyes, or are they reflecting ambient light? In anything in the animal kingdom have bioluminescent eyes? Well, yes, there are actually. Some deep water specimens and certain lower order mammals have a tapetum lucidum membrane that reflects light, even low light. So yeah, it's possible it was a reflection of light. We don't know. In this case, it was definitely our weak headlights. And just as John said, I can almost see it. I'm going in the water after it. And I thought, oh. And he said, cover me. And I said, okay. And I'm thinking, I'd rather leave. And Michael stands up and goes, guys, there's one up here. up on the ridge. Well, we found out through years and years of research and talking to other researchers, that's a diversionary tactic. And it's a common belief in our part of the country that these things are never alone. They always travel in pairs. And I can't tell you the times something's happened over here, you turn your attention to that way, and something happens behind you, and whatever was over here is gone. Now, was it a Bigfoot? I don't know. I didn't see it. I mean, I've seen the red eyes, but I'm not seeing what's behind them, you know? And why is that? Is that a trick of light, or is that because I left? Well, it's both. This is obviously a bridge. That is our Boggy Creek, southeast Oklahoma. As you can see, it is a bit more robust than the Boggy Creek here. Okay, this is John Harrell. There were 19 prints in that trackway. John's measuring them. The distance between them was, I don't really recall, 37 or 8 inches. The tracks weren't that big, but look at that track. Now, is that a human track? How can you tell? I mean, it looks deformed, doesn't it? The 2 toes here actually come out this far. They have stovepipe, failed to register in the mud. The toes are very much straighter. That track was, I think, 13 inches long. But I think that in the heart of man, there remains the need for something beyond our comprehension, beyond our invention, beyond our context of understanding. We need these stories. We need these legends. All right, it's almost lunchtime. And as we say up in Little Dixie, my belly's beginning to think my throat's been cut. God bless you, people. Thank you. Come get all of this stuff off of me, Michael.
Walking off the pier and into the bottoms, you feel the weight of these woods closing in pretty quick. I got my camp set up just before sundown, throwing up the tent before the swamp completely took over the line. From there, it's a short drive straight into the town of Fouke. You'll know you've arrived when you see those big yellow eyes staring down at you from the roof of the Monster Mart. Since 1984, this old pit stop has served as the unofficial headquarters for the entire Boggy Creek legend. On the inside, it's a regular time capsule of local history, packed with the old 71 newspaper clippings, murals, and a cast of that unmistakable 3-toe footprint. The shelves are heavy with the work of men who have spent years tracking the shadow in the timber. You can find Jerry Hestan's book and his iconic poster documenting decades of boots-on-the-ground encounters, alongside a whole archive of Lyle Blackburn's book and custom t-shirts. Even the local law enforcement leans into the history down here, with the creature itself stamped right onto the door of the police cruiser. But looking at the evidence inside a well-lit store is one thing. Stepping out in the dark where the legend actually lives, well, that's a whole different story. Now the sun's completely down and the darkness is taking over. A group of us are heading deep into the swamplands to see what's waiting in the shadows of Miller County.
Holy shit. Holy shit, guys.
Enunciate.
Come right here.
We are right here.
I'm looking at something looking at me.
What color?
I can't tell.
How deep is the way?
Okay.
Look.
Look at this. Somebody look at this.
Okay, I'm right behind you.
Right that way. Not the thing on the left. The thing on the right. There's like 2 birds on the left and something on the right. See it?
I'm panning way to the right, and I do not.
I think you're too far.
Okay. I'll go back this way and then hand it off to Lyle. He'll take
Wait, I want to see it.
Okay. Here you go. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa.
You see it?
No, that's the two. Wait. That's the two birds.
No, it's not the two birds. It's not the two birds.
What proximity to the two birds?
To the right. No, I don't see it.
I'm recording on this one. So there's nothing. It's recording whatever you see.
It did? I see it again. You guys. Something's walking.
Wally?
No, right straight ahead. Right there. Is this... Okay, it's
See where you're
recording.
looking.
It just went past between two trees.
Left or right?
It went from left to right.
You on it?
It's Is this recording my voice? It recorded just... Right now we're at 4:47. It was
It
a little...
doesn't matter. It's
Okay.
It'll keep starting over. Their files.
Okay.
Look through your left eye. Keep your right eye open and walk this way. You see? Are you using your peripheral to walk?
Yeah.
As we hiked out of the bottoms, Jody did an incredible job keeping her dominant eye on her immediate surroundings while glassing with the thermal optic on the other. It's a level of coordination not many people can pull off. Most of your life, both eyes are trained to focus on a single point together, not split apart to handle two entirely separate jobs like tonight.
Really?
I think it's just water.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
See any monsters?
No.
We heard a wood knock.
We-
And water sounds about 500-600 yards ago.
Behind you?
Daniel and I.
Oh, cool.
And that's what that plop was, Jake. It was the beaver diving.
see him right there. Oh, he's looking right at us.
What is it? Yeah, there's one across the water.
Yeah, but did you see that one? Right here? That tree may be blocking it. You might have to sidestep in front of me. Come in front of me.
I see.
He is looking right at us.
I see it, yeah.
You didn't hear him just see him?
Oh, was that him?
Yeah. Ooh! Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh! Hey, Mike. Have you got the owl? You got the camera on the owl? Come in front of me, take a look at him. You'll get a clear picture of him. Step right in front of me this direction. Yep.
Waldy, get right here with the good thermal. Get right here in front of me with the good thermal. There's something hot, but I think it's a deer.
I want Mike to make that owl sound again. Let me sound it.
Well, there's something pretty big right behind you. I don't know if it's a dog or a hog.
How
I
far?
see like a gator in the water right now.
Like behind you, you're in the way.
I just want to make sure it ain't gonna run at us. I can just barely see him with my phone.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
It kind of was like dog ass.
So that's kind of where we saw the deer too. So it may just be the deer hanging out still.
Is that a deer?
What was that?
That's a deer bleat or somebody's playing a...
It does sound like a bleat.
What in the... Beautiful. Ooh!
Again.
This file?
That's it?
I want you to do that.
Ooh! Ooh! Ooh!
Oh yeah, there's a deer right here across.
Like, right in front of me from the bank.
I'm so curious what that is.
I think it's a deer. I think that's why that one's bleeding.
Yeah, it's literally right across the border.
Is it in the water? Because I'm trying to find it on the night vision.
I can just barely see it through the sticks and stuff in my phone. There's a deer, I think, laying down here, and then there's like a big toe over here.
Did you record all that, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm recording it now. You want the front barrel? You want this one?
think that was a deer laying down over here.
I think it's deer laying down, and right across the water is a deer.
That sounded like a doe bleed.
You know what? We got some good audio this.
Oh yeah, we did.
Between the barn owl, the deer.
There you go, that deer's moving now.
It is? Which one?
Oh, it's a beaver.
Oh, the one right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's laying down halfway in the water.
I don't know if y'all know, but one of the most terrifying moments I've ever had in my life was when a beaver chased me. They can run stupid fast. And they will eat you up.
Yeah, that beaver's probably over here going through the water already.
Yeah, I'm watching him now.
Yeah, there's a beaver.
Straight out 12 o'clock in front of us.
Yeah, a beaver across from us moving in the water too. Two of them.
Oh, so that's probably what that other spot was. So have we seen the deer bleat across the road?
So, I thought it was a deer, but I was with that other thermal, but it's a beaver swimming through the water. There's a beaver in front of me, and then right across the water is two beavers that are meeting up right now.
Oh, the barn owl's gone. What? Just not above us no more.
Yeah, I thought I heard him fly.
When Jody first captured these glowing eyes standing up in the darkness, it was completely undetermined. It wasn't until we uploaded the footage later that we could definitely tell it was a raccoon. But just a short while after that, she was therming further across the swamp, and that's when a different heat signature caught her eye. It looked to be just one single step, and it disappeared behind a big cypress. At that distance, it's impossible to get a clean definition, leaving us with that classic blurry thermal footage. In the presence of these elusive creatures, the atmosphere shifts instantly. Your body fills with an unfathomable dread, and every ounce of peaceful solitude vanishes into the dark. But as terrifying as it is, there's nowhere else we'd rather be, because tracking down the elusive isn't just about what we find. Sometimes it's about surviving the quiet peace of the wildlife we do know and chasing down the mysteries we don't.